Welcome back to the channel. I'm Doug, the retirement guy, with all your monthly ETFs. Today, we got a question from a couple different viewers. Which one is actually king? The new JPMorgan ROCQ or the traditional QQQI? A lot of people have been making comments after our last video that we did, kind of introducing the new JP Morgans and breaking them down, giving them more insight. And the question started popping up. Is ROCQ from JP Morgan going to take over QQQI? Are they going to be the new animal in the house? Well, we're going to break it down, tell you which one I personally think is king. I'm going to give you the insights, the positive, the negatives, all across on both funds, and go from there. First, I want to thank everyone for coming back. We have over 14,000 subscribers. We've added well over 1,000 new subscribers just in the past few weeks. Welcome back. Welcome aboard. Hopefully you enjoy the videos that we put out for you. Also, guys, I got to thank you too. The Patreon has grown. We use Patreon to give you information ahead of time. We gave you the information about the liquidations that were out there. So we're always trying to put more and more information out there quicker, faster, more efficient. And the nice thing about it, Patreon is free. Go down in the description, you'll see a link. Just hit that button. You can join the Patreon for free. And then after that, if you think it's worth it, you can always buy into the membership or help support the channel. It's the easiest way to do it. So let's get into today's video. Who is the king? ROCQ or QQQI from NEOS? Well, right off the bat, I do this. Past performances does not guarantee future results. The information provided in this video is for educational and informational purposes only. If you are looking to do financial advice, always contact a financial advisor. As I am not a financial advisor, I am just someone who has been heavily into all of the retirements and working with the money. So I always like to do this. Let's meet the contenders. First off, in the first corner, JP Morgan ROCO. It's the Nasdaq Equity Premium Income. Now, JP Morgan introduced this fund in March of 2026. So I'm telling you up front, we're less than 2 months into this fund. It is an active covered call strategy, and it started off its assets under management over $100 million already. Okay, so already they've had a lot of excitement. They've had a lot of assets adding to it. And this just actually goes along with and actually is an improvement of their JEPQ. Okay. Now, on the other side is our established leader, the NEOS QQQI Nasdaq-100 High Income ETF. This one came out January 2024. It's an index-based covered call strategy. So the strategies you can see are two totally different pieces. One is active, one is what we'll call index-based. And I will explain that a couple of slides down the road. We'll explain exactly what the two are doing. But you can't argue with the 8 to 10 billion, yes, with a B, billion-dollar assets under management. So that's what's made the NEOS QQQI so much that extreme leader moving forward. The assets under management, nothing we really need to worry about. So basically, I call this, it's the big bank versus the boutique specialists. The battle of the tech incomes for domination. We're going to start off with the expenses. And expenses is kind of a double-edged sword to me. And I'll just tell you my own personal opinion on this. Expense numbers are always built into the pricing. So if someone says, hey, we're having a 12% yield, we have a 9% yield, and we have a 1% expense, that's already calculated into that 12 or the yield coming back from it. It's already part of the total numbers. But a lot of people want to see this number because of particularly, it's a way of they've learned how to judge a fund. Well, JP Morgan is always at least an inexpensive one that they are at 0.35%, which is $35 on every $10,000 is going to what I call the house, calling the JP Morgan. Now, QQQI with NEOS is at a 0.68% or $68 per every 10,000. So they're right off the bat, the JP Morgan will be about 50% cheaper. Now, how does this impact? The difference in the final wealth on a $100,000 investment at 8% annual return from that 0.33 gap alone, yeah, you're going to come down to it after 40 full years. But remember, all your numbers are always added into it. So the big difference here, we're going to give it a side to JP Morgan. I don't want to pay fees. I'm a person who doesn't want to pay fees either. But if you do your job and you do your things right with these fees built into it, it doesn't really make as big of a difference. Now, the yield comparison. Remember, on this channel, I don't just chase yield. I want to look at multiple different facets, and we've had it proven that our system has been right. We want to look at total returns. That tells you what the thing is really, the fund is actually really doing, total returns. Then we can look at yield, we can look at the growth, and we can look at assets under management. So we know both of these have solid assets under management. Okay, now we're going to take a look at the yield side of it, and JP Morgan is coming out with about a 14.6% annualized yield, while NEOS already, because it has history under its belt, has had a consistent 14% average yield. Now, the first distributions from ROCQ came in about 66 cents. Remember, there's only about 1 month worth of data that we can use so far to do these comparisons, so it's very difficult to do. Again, showing you the $8 to $10 billion in assets under NEOS, and we have multiple years proven track records. So ROCQ's yield edge ahead of QQQI's, but I really think the consistency is the real story. So this is something that we're going to say we're going to have to watch in the next 3 to 6 months of ROCQ's distributions before drawing a true conclusion. How are they going to, is JP Morgan using the 14% as a target, which is what I'm really reading, is they're trying to keep that thing right at that targeted frame. But it's going to be one of those things that, targeting is one thing, stepping up to the plate and actually doing it is something totally different. So a lot of people here are going to say, oh, another edge to ROC. I'm going the edge goes to NEOS because of that long-term track history that they've been able to prove to do what they're doing. This is the next biggest thing across the board, is tax efficiencies. Now, I want to explain something. This is JP Morgan's old way of doing it. They used equity-linked notes, ELNs. They used income tax at ordinary income rates. Okay, they didn't get into any really tax hypes. They didn't get into anything that worked accordingly because they figured most of the stuff's going into Roth or into IRAs, and that's like kicking your can down the road. We'll worry about taxes down the road. If it's in a Roth, we're probably never going to have to worry about taxes onto it. But this gave a high tax drag, especially if you were into taxable accounts. And I talked to a lot of people about this, and I look at the first thing I look at is where they have their JPI and JPQ, and so many put them in their brokerage accounts. And I'm like, oh, you got an issue here. You got to fix this. Well, JP Morgan's listened, and they came back and said, yep, after so many years of having these two big dominators of JPQ and JPI, that they came out with ROCQ, and they are using the famous return of capital, ROC. And then that defers the taxes. It reduces your cost basis rather than triggering immediate taxing, income tax. What they're doing is they're reducing your cost of your funds, so your taxes are kicked down. The can is kicked down the road until you basically zero out your cost analysis, or you sell your funds. Okay, so it's a simple way. It's a tax. Some people call it tax loopholes. It's the tax system. It's what's there. It's been there for years. And used by a lot of different funds. Now, some people look at it and say return of capital, oh, scary. Either A, they don't understand it, or they've been burned by someone who used it the wrong way. And I always say this is a double-edged sword. And you saw that in a lot of weekly ETFs or funds that were not properly designed, that they actually did return your capital. And this is why you watch your AUMs. They returned your capital as distributions and the fund collapsed. The positive with return of capital is a unique way of doing it, and it's a tool. It's definitely a strong tool. Now, the opposite side, QQQI, uses the 1256 contracts. Now, quickly, I'll explain that. Basically, it says that the distributions coming out of it, no matter how long they've held the funds or where the distributions came from, 60% of their distributions will come from long-term capital gains. So that is really where you get the cheapest or the lowest tax rates across the board, which is realistically right now, I believe it's a 0, 15, and 20%, basically breaking off of your tax income. The other 40% is classified as short terms, so you pay a little bit higher taxes on that. Now, they don't stop there, okay? They also add in ROC. A lot of people don't know that, but NEOS uses ROC on some of their distributions as well to try to reduce your tax. I always call it the tax harvesting. They do the best possible job with the 60/40 program and using ROC as a backup across the board. So QQQI has that proven 99% return of capital classification, 60/40 capital gains split. So, it has what I always call all the receipts to prove that they have the best tax program across the board in a ETF. Now, ROCQ is promising that tax efficiency structures by design using ROC. The 19A form has not been released yet, and we've talked about that again in a couple of videos. They can come out and say 100% of the distributions are ROC. They can say that all year long. Until the 19A form comes out at the end of the year and issues it to all the shareholders, you don't know what the ROC actually will turn into. Okay? So it's a wait until we see what comes out of it. It's not guaranteed that, oh my God, they said in January, or I have to say that is, but they said that in March or in April and May that these were 100%, I owe no taxes. Well, you don't know until the very, very end. So again, the positive goes to QQQI. Now, the strategies. This is the next big question, active versus index management. And this is two philosophies, and they're both having one goal. They want income from the Nasdaq-100. So again, ROCQ is an actively managed ETF fund. It holds about 92 of the 99 Nasdaq-100 stocks, selectively includes certain positions. It writes calls on individual stock positions with that technical option overlay. So really what I'm saying here, it introduces the manager's risk, the potential for outperformance or underperforming. You've put the trust into the JPMorgan's team. They're not just going to let someone else who makes the Nasdaq-100 follow their system to a T, done, all set, tied in a nice little bow. They're going to try to find those ones that are going stronger. And I'm just going to I'm really telling you right now, I'm making different ones up. Do not hold this. This is just trying to help you understand what they do. They may turn and say, well, NVIDIA has had a great run, but we think Meta, the Facebook, has got something great that they're coming up with in 3 to 4 months. They'll switch more and more over to Meta. Or they'll switch and say, hey, we're going over to Google. They're making changes, so their portfolio may still be 50% in tech, but they may be heavily loaded in one particular brand of Google or Apple or something like that versus being a broad spread across. Okay, so you're trying to hope that they make the right decisions on the right ideas at the right timing to get it done. That's what you pay active managers do. Now, they have a lot more resources and they do a lot more research than you and I will ever do to make sure that they are doing the right job. And if they're not, JPMorgan's pulls them out, puts new people in, and moves on. Now, QQQI from NEOS, it tracks the Nasdaq-100 index closely, highly transparent and consistent, writes calls on the NDX index itself, not individual stocks. So what they're doing is, and I'm simplifying, is they're taking the Nasdaq 100 box, which is NDX's fund, and they're selling the NDX fund. So however Nasdaq set up the fund, how NDX has the fund set up, that's what they're selling. So if they're saying we're putting 20% to NVIDIA and 10% into Google and 5% into Meta, that's what you get. Okay? That's what the index is built for. There's rules based on the whole thing. There's no discretionary decisions. It eliminates the manager's risk entirely. The question is, what does the Nasdaq 100 do? QQQI will pretty much do what they do. If it's down today, they will be down. If it's up today, they will be up. ROCQ is trying to use a manager to call out those things. The trusted broader index is what we see a lot in the covered calls. We have not seen a lot of active management doing this, pulling their own stocks. So I really put this as a tie. It depends on your investing philosophy. When I personally saw it, they were doing the active managed and picking their own funds and doing it. I kind of leaned to it and said, yeah, I like JPMorgan's options. But then I look at the long track history of QQQI and I'm like, boy, they've just had good success. So active is that potential alpha and manager risk, and the index is predictability and transparency. In retirement, I always go with the index because I love the predictability. I love the transparency. I know what's going to happen with my money. There's a gamble and a risk over on ROCQ with the active manage. Now, don't just make that one decision. This is why I call it a tie. Both systems, knowing the players, knowing what's into it, give you that potential that can give you great results from either or. I think in the yield, you're seeing that they're going to get, ROC is going to give you maybe a 0.6, and in the long run, 0.6 is that make that huge of a difference? Doubtful. So when we look at the summary of this, and we go back to the head-to-head scorecard, in fees, ROCQ wins. In yield, we're going to say they win with that 0.6, but man, it is so close on that one. Tax efficiency, you have to go with QQQI. Liquidity is QQQI. And management really comes into a tie. So the question comes into, guys, is who is the real winner to these two? And I'm going to put it to you this way. I'm sticking with QQQI. If for that proven consistency and that tax structure, I have it in a brokerage account, so I need that tax efficiency. I think ROCQ is definitely worth watching for that 14.5% yield, and I really think the difference in those two yields is really coming those expense fees. So I'm not against JPMorgan. They have been running the clock. They've been increasing dramatically. I'm not saying I won't add it either. I'll probably put it down the road. I'll probably add to it. But remember always my rules. I don't invest in anything that's not 6 months or older. I want to see some history. I want to see what you're able to do. Now, JPMorgan, love you guys to death. I have both of your JPI, JPQ. NEOS, I love you too. I got your SPYI, your QQI, and many others. I'm just at a point when I heard that from different people saying, oh, head to head. This is gonna take out QQQI. JPMorgan's gonna win. No, I just always think, something I learned many, many years back. When you're at number one position, you have the sky to look towards. If you're in second position, you got to look behind you and you got to look in front of you. And actually, in third place, all you have is you got two people in front of you and you're going to attack, attack, attack. And I think that's what's happening. QQQI has been on top. It's came out. People have loved it. It's done its job. It's done a great job across the board. Now everyone has to look and say, how do we knock them off their pillar? How do we make it better? And QQQI just does a great job across the board. So I'm in the tie game. I'm in the tie position. I don't think either one of them are going to get what I'll call the crown that wins over each other. I think ROCQ has a great opportunity down the road. I think today QQQI is great for retirees. It's great for pre-retirees. And I could think even if you drip the product, even people trying to grow their funds, I think overall does a great job as well. Let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know your opinion on ROCQ. This is, like I said, I did a complete video that covers the whole new JPMorgan, a little more in depth, a little more dialed into it. And this is why a lot of people are questioning this. So if you haven't watched it, step back, watch that video, and then give me an opinion. Give me a comment down below. What you think of these funds. It really helps the channel, hearing your voice about this. And also, don't be afraid. If you like it, hit that like button. We appreciate it, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for watching.